I accidentally uncovered one of the largest Chinese spy networks in the United States, tied in with the Chinese mafia. And I mean, it was rough. They were threatening, to my face, they were threatening to kill me for about 5 years.
On British Thought Leaders Part 2 with investigative journalist Joshua Philipp, who describes a staggering network of Chinese control transplanted to Western nations.
If I quit because they were threatening me, I'd be sending a message that threats work. I'd be telling them that.
Yeah.
I would also be giving up on an investigation that to this day, I believe is the greatest threat to my country, and to yours too, by the way. This is how you lose a country. This is how you lose a war without being invaded. You're taken over from inside.
Josh talks about threats faced by Chinese freedom supporters in the West.
You have a lot of democracy activists who are being threatened. Their lives are being threatened. And so these people, they're in a free country. They do not feel the freedom nor the protection of a free country.
And how Western officials are brought under CCP control.
You're leaving China, they'll give you a nice little box. Thank you, you're so wonderful. Give you a little box. You open it up, what's inside? You'll have a gold bar and a USB stick.
Really?
The gold bar is saying, this is what you could have if you work with us. The USB stick is a video of everything you did while you were there.
I know you were recently on the main stage at Turning Point USA. You were talking about the CCP taking over the US from within. I was hoping you could talk to us a bit about that as well.
Yeah. So I've been with Epic Times since 2006. I'm one of the old staff here. I don't probably look that old, but I'm an old man at heart. You know what I mean? But I've been an investigative reporter since 2008, and one of the reasons why I've stuck it out so long is because of what I uncovered. So when I started with Epic Times, I was still a student. I got invited for a summer internship, in 2008, and I was like, hey, great, happy-go-lucky, thinking a good summer job in New York City was all exciting.
Didn't know you were going to end up in the Darien Gap.
Yeah, who knew, right? But back in 2008, I accidentally uncovered one of the largest Chinese spy networks in the United States, tied in with the Chinese mafia. And I mean, it was rough. They were threatening, to my face, they were threatening to kill me for about 5 years, on and off. And the problem I had at that time is not a lot of people knew about it. So, I was reporting on it, and some of the first U.S. government articles or reports were citing my work because there just wasn't much reporting. Now, you might think as a journalist, oh, great, aren't you proud the government's citing your work? I mean, it was nice, but for me, with what I was dealing with, no, it was terrifying because to me that meant they don't have anybody else to cite. Yeah. Who am I? I was a student journalist, basically, thrust into this, and I was dealing with a lot at that time. So what I uncovered was what was called the United Front, the United Front Work Department, which is better known now. So people might have heard now about these secret Chinese police stations. Yep. The Chinese Communist Party has established police operations in different parts of the world. I mean, they had them in New York City. I'd assume they had them in the UK. Yeah. You probably had them there too. Those are similar. Those ones are run through the Ministry of Public Security of the Chinese Communist Party. It's like their secret police. But they run through the United Front network, which is why when people research them, it's like a Chinese restaurant or something, or like a weird Chinese fraternal organization. They call it like a community center. Yeah. Right? So why was that? It's because those are the Tongs. And this is basically how it works. And this requires a bit of history to understand, right? If you go back to what makes Chinatowns, right? Chinese communities, such unique migrant communities. Chinatown, right? They're unique. Not a lot of cultures have that. This ties actually into traditional Chinese history. So in ancient China, you had, the top-down government, right? The emperor. the government only stretched to the county level. Below the county level, there was really no official government. And so below that, you had a bottom-up government, which was community run.
Right.
And they called those Tongs. They have like family organizations, because there's only so many surnames in China. So you might have like the Liu family Tong, or the Chong family Tong, and so on, right? There's only so many surnames. They also have hometown associations, so you're gonna have like the Fujian Association, the Shandong Association, those guys, right? And so on and so forth. And then you have guilds. So there'll be like the police Tong, or the oil workers Tong,
Right.
and so on. The issue is, beneath some of the bigger Tongs, you also have the mafia, which are the triads,
Right.
the Chinese mafia. So the way that Chinese organized crime works, which is a bit different from like gangs or like the Italian mafia, is they operate in conjunction with the Tongs. And so basically, if you need something done, hey, I need some business connections. My nephew, he's trying to get into the tech business. You go to the Tong, and the Tong says, okay, give us a gift, pay into it. And we have Tong members who are executives of these companies. We can put the good word in for you. They can get your nephew in.
Right.
It's stuff like that. Hey, I need a job here, and so on. But they also have the criminal side. So if you're like, hey, my cousin needs to get trafficked to the United States, they'll be like, okay, we have that guy too. Hey, I want to get involved in the drug trade. We have that guy too. And so the criminal elements, they have the law-abiding surface element, which does like community programs and so on, and then you have the criminal element, and they all operate under the same house. So the human traffickers for the Tongs, they're called the triads, right? So these guys, historically, what they would do is, when a lot of people migrated to the United States or Mexico has actually huge Chinese communities, or Paris, or the UK, for example.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
And UK is a little different because you guys have a lot of the ties with Hong Kong. It's a little different there, right?
Yeah.
Your situation is a little different than most countries, but because it was more integrated, right? But so for the United States and other countries, when the Tongs came over, when people came over, it was the Tongs that facilitated it.
Right.
And so when they came to the United States, they built the same thing, which is why if you go to like San Francisco Chinatown or New York Chinatown, you'll see Tong buildings all over the place. And the way they usually title it is like the America Friendship Association, the Fujian American Association, the Shandong Friendship People's Hub, or something like that, And so what happened was this. The Tongs effectively work as the unofficial government of the Chinese communities. They work as an actual government, which for police, it's very hard for them to navigate it. So what happens is the Tongs establish police advisory boards. If you want to get into the neighborhood, you have to work with them. The problem is a lot of times it's the gangs running the police advisory boards, right? Little awkward, but you got to think, if you're with the mafia, you'd rather be running the group that can go after you, and so that's what they do. And they do the liaison work, the public-facing stuff, and that's why the communities are what they are. When the Chinese Communist Party wanted to spread its roots abroad, they went to the Tongs.
Right.
And so the way they do it is this. The Chinese consulate or embassy, and I know the UK, you guys are getting this like mega embassy now.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck with that, because this is how it works. The CCP regards those as overseas government offices. So that will be like your New York province of China, or the London province of China, and that's their front line. Right? That's the front line in the CCP's war against the West, which is why they call it the United Front, right? And so what do? To unite the United Front, they have operatives who will go out to the Tongs. So they'll send agents to the Tongs, and they'll try to win them over. That'll be bribery. They'll give them business contracts in China. They have ways of laundering money to them. The two main ways they launder money is maybe they'll have the Tong leader to start up a business in China. It's all a black box, so they could just pour money into it. Hey, look at your earnings today in your Chinese business. If Western police want to investigate it, sorry, chap, you're not allowed to come in. You know, better luck next time. The other thing they'll do is they'll give you or one of your family members like an advisory role in a Chinese business.
Right.
And you'll never have to do anything,
Yeah.
Other than maybe giving them intel. You know, they'll treat you as a spy. And so once they win over the Tongs, you're talking 1,000 members, 10,000 members. Some claim to have like 100,000 members. And when they're taken over, all of those people become like de facto spies. And I'm not talking like James Bond. I'm talking like low-level spies, right? They'll act in the interests of the Chinese Communist Party. And if the CCP says that they need something done, just like if you need a favor done, your cousin needs a business, your cousin needs a job, your cousin needs to be trafficked, you want to get into this or that. It's the same thing when they get a request from the CCP. We need to steal this technology. We need to subvert this particular government official, invite him to China, make friends with him. They go through the Tongs.
I didn't realize this is how it works. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting. Not a lot of people know this. Again, it's because I've investigated this personally. I've gone into these organizations. I've talked to people. They threatened to kill me. You know, I'd like to say we're on friendly terms. Maybe they don't feel that way, but you know, people have different ways of showing affection. You know what I mean? But anyways, that was my experience. And so what has happened now is this. So the Tongs, they'll also grow people. So over the course of time, they also have student groups. One of the big organizations, and people have probably heard about the Confucius Institutes by now. Yeah. There's a lot of other ones. That's the tip of the iceberg. They have the Torch program. They have a whole bunch. They have tons of programs. Right, I can go down a long list. They have tons of programs, and they're like numbers and so on. It wouldn't mean anything to people. Just understand, they have tons of programs to create spies, to bribe people, to blackmail people, and to steal stuff, and to subvert foreign governments. And one of the organizations they have for students is what they call the CSSAs, Chinese Student and Scholar Associations.
Yeah, we have those.
There you go. These are openly funded and operated by the Chinese consulate, or maybe your brand new embassy.
Yeah.
And they hide it these days. They used to not hide it. I have a habit of archiving things because I know they delete things. So I recently did a big report on that, and I showed the archives where they admit publicly that they're getting funded and operated by the Chinese consulates. They'll hide it these days. Again, they've like deleted half their websites, but it's known, right? The concerning thing with the Chinese Student and Scholar Associations, it's not just students. It's students and scholars. It's faculty members, it's college professors, and it's also the Tongs. It's the community leaders. And and when they do public messaging, they're like, oh, this student is a rising star in the Chinese community, right? And they'll try to push them into different areas. Now, for some people, they'd be like, well, isn't it mean if you target them or something like that? Not at all. The CSSAs also work as the eyes and ears of the CCP. So if you're a normal Chinese student and you're here to study, and let's say you join an event for Hong Kong freedom, you join a democracy event, the CSSA members will report them to the CCP. They're spies, right? And that person now is going to be persecuted. They're going to lose their future, lose their opportunities. If they dare speak out, if they talk about human rights abuses, their life is over. And it's the CSSAs that do it. So these people are abusing human rights as far as I'm concerned, right? It's not some kumbaya, let's all be friends type things. These people are abusing the human rights of other students, and it's being done openly. But what they do also, in America, I don't know if it's this way in the UK, but we have a lot of government-funded research programs at American universities, including military stuff. So the Pentagon will make contracts with universities. or other research, medical research, the whole 9 yards. The students are part of that. So part of the concern that's been raised by the Trump administration is, oh, these foreign students are getting access to this and then they steal it and bring it back to their countries. The CSSAs will even facilitate that. It's done intentionally. So the faculty and the professors will push that student spy into that research program with the intent of having them steal it, and then they'll get a big cushy job back in China.
Wow.
It's done, it's coordinated, it's intentional.
Yeah.
But that's concerning, but the more concerning thing is the ones who don't go back to China. Because what they do is this. They plant them as spies. They call it serving in place. Serving in place. And it's not even just that. They have a lot of the Torch program. They say return to China or serve in place. And what does that mean? If they need an agent in the IRS, right? I don't know, you call it in the UK. It's like our tax.
Yeah.
Our tax. The old tax man. It's those guys. If they want to spy in the intelligence services, if they want to spy in, let's say, a prosecutor's office where they can go after people, they can make fake charges or fabricate something, they do that too. Maybe they want to spy in your police department. Maybe they want to spy in the community, quote unquote, will push their political campaign and they might become a government official. All of that is done through those networks. And so they'll grow them and plant them wherever they need somebody.
That's quite terrifying stuff.
Oh yeah. For me, it's why I stuck it out for so long. It's because I'll give you a real story. So back in 2008, when I was first uncovering this stuff, it was daunting. I didn't know what I was coming across. I was surrounded one time by like 5 or 6 people in Chinatown, and they're telling me, we're going to kill you and so on. And I had a contact who was a Chinese democracy activist, and he was like, yeah, after we talked, one of their people came, they told me they hired a hitman and they were going to chop off one of my hands. And he woke up and his tires were slashed. I did an article on it and I basically called him out. I said, well, if you do it now, everyone's going to know it was you who did it. And they never chopped off one of his hands. But they were making threats like that. I knew a Taiwanese lady, not mainland China, Taiwanese. She was saying, they told me they could make me disappear. And that was the kind of stuff I was dealing with. I'm at that time 23 years old. I had just gotten married. I got married pretty young. Still with the same woman, by the way. My wife, was pregnant not too long after that. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, geez, I should think about my family. Yeah. I should think about my life. And I was like, well, should I just pack up my bags and get a decent job?
The world needs people like you.
Yeah. Well, I was like, working at that checkout line in the local supermarket, sure looks nice right about now.
No one's going to threaten you.
Anything looked fantastic in comparison to that, But I had a real moment of truth, and I guess you call it your coming to God moment. And I was like, is this worth dying for? Am I willing to die to do this work? And I had to really think about it. And, I decided, yeah, I'd be willing to die for it. I would. And the reason was this, is because if I quit because they were threatening me, I'd be sending a message that threats work. I'd be telling them that.
Yeah.
I would also be giving up on an investigation that I to this day, I believe is the greatest threat to my country, and to yours too, by the way. This is how you lose a country. This is how you lose a war without being invaded. You're taken over from inside through subversion, right? And I can get into how that part works too, because it's intentional. That's the goal of it. Right. They call it taking over the civil society. You become a vassal state. You have the illusion that you're a free country. You're not. The leadership is serving a foreign interest, right? I'll talk about that in a minute. But I was dealing with this at the time. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm willing to die for it. And if they kill me, mission accomplished, because it'll make the whole world know what happened. You know, people will see what I did, right? They'll see my work. It's funny enough, there were even some government officials who started investigating. There was like a Department of Justice representative who I know one of like the victims was trying to show around, and the Chinese agents mistook that guy for a dissident and like started threatening the government official. So, you know, they ended up shooting themselves in the foot in terms of all that. But you know, at the time, I really felt that my life was at risk. And you know, I realized that if I were to give up the work I was doing, what I was encountering, and what I still believe is the greatest threat to our civilization, it would not be known. Nobody would know this is happening. And you know, I couldn't live with myself if I did. I couldn't live with myself if I just if I gave up like that. It didn't feel morally right. Which is why, you know, as a journalist, I've stuck it out. Going on, next year will be 20 years. Next year will be 20 years. But on the point of subverting government, this is the scarier thing. So I talked about the United Front Work Department. And I know people are like, well, migrant communities. No, these people abuse the migrants. Alongside the United Front, they have another branch called it's called the Overseas Chinese Affairs Office.
Yeah.
They register you. If you're living overseas, they watch you. They document everybody, even second and third generation Chinese. So it could be like your grandma. You know, you're born in the UK. Your mom is born in the UK, but your grandma came from China. You're on their books. See, the OCAO, they document everybody and they watch you. So if you have a member of the Chinese community, you know, they come out and they talk about democracy in China, or they're like, hey, China's bulldozing churches, or, you know, they're harvesting the organs of Falun Gong practitioners. I know in the UK you had the tribunal, which proved it was happening, right?
Yep.
If you talk about that, they'll come after you. And so you got to think, you have people. And look, you know, we're talking as, I'd imagine we all care about, you know, people, right? Narratives aside, I hope we can all value human life, right? You have people in the United States, in the UK, in all these countries. I mean, look at you especially, in the UK especially, you have people who fled persecution after the CCP just forcibly ended the agreement over Hong Kong. Yeah. You have a lot of democracy activists who are being threatened. Their lives are being threatened. And so these people, they're in a free country. They do not feel the freedom nor the protection of a free country. They're being threatened. Their family members are being threatened. If they dare speak out, these groups will attack them. And I don't know why we as decent, you know, people, why we allow that to happen. And so, you know, in terms of what this means for these communities, it's horrible. It's horrible. If you want to talk about human rights, this is abuse happening in our own backyards. But to the point of what the goal is, and I mentioned, you know, subverting government and vassal states. I'm not exaggerating with this. That's the stated goal of the United Front. The actual goal, they would say, is seizing the civil society. What is the civil society? It's a thinking. Now people talk about Sun Tzu and Art of War. This is more like Machiavellian tactics, right? Machiavelli, like the prince, right? Yeah. Mafia tactics. How do you conquer a country using the mafia? That's what they're doing. So the thinking is this. You have your constitution. That is what constitutes, at least the United States. For in the UK it's a little different. But that which constitutes your government is at least here, the Constitution. That establishes how government works, what are the processes, what are the protocols, what's the foundation of law, how do you elect your leaders, and so on. Right? That's in the Constitution. But who actually implements it? Who represents the implementation of the actual foundation of your country.
Yeah.
Civil society. That's your government officials, your elected leaders, even like mid-level employees in government agencies who can kind of work as the boots on the ground. It's your news outlets, the outlets of information, right? Your journalists, your editors, your media moguls, and all that. There's your entertainment industry. For us, it's Hollywood. For you, it's like BBC and stuff, right? And then there's your influencers and your business leaders. So your TikTokers, your YouTubers, anybody of influence in the society. Anybody who kind of represents a group within your society. That's what you call the civil society. The goal of the United Front is to seize the civil society. So what do? The Chinese military works on this alongside the United Front. There's a great report on this, on Chinese political warfare. Been quite a few, actually. The branch used to be called the General Political Department. Xi Jinping reorganized it. I can't remember the latest name for it. They reorganize it every now and then. But effectively what this is, it's a military branch of the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, focused on political warfare, waging war through politics. They research people. They'll jump on LinkedIn or Facebook. They'll make friends with you, right? Maybe they'll buy your data. Maybe a Chinese company will buy your data from Facebook because they sell it, right? Simple, it's easy. What do they get? They know who your friends are. They know what you're interested in. They know what websites you look at. They know what your concerns are. What are your soft points, right? Where are you sensitive? What are your hobbies? Maybe you like playing, I don't know, pickleball or something. I don't know, what do you guys play? The rugby or something?
Yeah. Golf.
Yeah.
Cricket.
American football.
Oh,
right? So maybe you're into that. They'll target you based on your hobbies. They'll target you based on what you care about, and you're going to be eventually sitting down next to a very nice, maybe very pretty person, and they're going to start talking, and you'll be like, wow, I've never met anybody who has so much in common with me.
Right.
What a wonderful thing. And they'll be like, people, they just don't know the real China. And they'll invite you on a trip to go see the real China. And that could end up in a few things. Well, one, they just try to brainwash you with their, you're living in the Truman Show, right? It's a Potemkin village. Every person you talk to is just, they're there to manipulate you, right? So they'll feed you false narratives. They'll try to win you over, and they'll try to make you believe their narratives. They might get you in a honey trap. Maybe there'll be some video. This is what they'll do if they get you in one of those. Maybe they'll drug you first. You won't even remember. You won't even remember. They'll get you really drunk. They'll do that too. You're leaving China. They'll give you a nice little box. Thank you. Thank you. You're so wonderful. Give you a little box. You open it up. What's inside? You'll have a gold bar and a USB stick.
Really?
The gold bar is saying, this is what you could have if you work with us. The USB stick is a video of everything you did while you were there. And you can pick which one you want.
Wow.
They can destroy you or they can make you. And so they do that to government officials. They do that to business leaders. They do that to everybody. And, it could also just be that they rope you in with business ties. They'll give you an advisory role with one of their businesses. Maybe they'll give you a big good discount, right? Which is them paying you. They'll pay you by discounts on their side. It can be things like that. But for Western society, not even Western society, they do this everywhere. They do this in Africa, they do it in Asia, they do it everywhere. What does that mean for them? It means the people who lead your government are working for someone else. They're not working for you. This is how the CCP takes over countries without having to invade them.
Joshua Philipp, thanks for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure. Yeah, anytime.